Hi, I'm Jade and today I'm going to show you how to make a half and half scrunchie. This was an idea I sort of came up with a while ago when I was left with scraps of fabric that weren't long enough to make a scrunchie, but I kept looking at them and they looked really good together. So I thought, why not put the two fabrics together and create a single scrunchie. So it's a great way of using up spare fabrics. It's something completely different to what you see everybody else wearing. So I just thought I'd share that with you today. I hope you sort of like this tutorial, give it a go. And if you do, please send me photos on my social media. I'll pop the links on the screen below. Yeah, happy sewing. For today's tutorial, you will need a sewing machine, an iron and an ironing board, fabric scissors, elastic, I've pre-cut mine to 8 inches, safety pin, a pin or a couple of pins, loop turner is optional, and then you need 2 different pieces of fabric, which again I have pre-cut, and they are 23.5 centimeters in length by 8.5 centimeters in width. So you've got your 2 pieces of fabric. The first thing we need to do is place them right sides together. So you just go like that. I'm just going to pop a pin in the top part. So you've got your 2 pieces right sides together, pin in place. Next thing, we are going to sew a seam sort of along here to join the 2 pieces of fabric together. I've given you a 1 centimeter seam allowance with the dimensions, but if you want to do it a smaller seam allowance or a larger seam allowance, that is fine. You can do as you please. So I've got my fabric in place at the machine, so we are just doing a normal straight stitch straight down that 1 centimeter seam allowance. So remember to do a few backward stitches as well. So this is what your half and half scrunchie will currently look like. I've just trimmed the excess threads off the end. So as you can see, I've sort of done straight line, done a few stitches forward, few stitches back, and then forward, and again a few stitches forward and back on the ends just to close the stitching off. So now you want to trim the excess seam allowance to go as close to the stitch line as you feel comfortable doing, just so that you don't have extra bulk fabric inside the scrunchie. So now, as you can see, we've got one sort of long piece of fabric. So you've got the 2 contrasting zebra print and the plain black. So now we need to sew the actual scrunchie. So what I'm going to do is put right sides together lengthways, so folding it like this, and I'm just going to pop a pin in to keep it in place whilst I am sewing. And then at the very top, it doesn't matter which end you choose, if you just fold over the edge, so just a tiny amount of fabric, wrong sides together, so that when you fold it back, it looks like this. I find that just gives it a really neat finish and it hides all of the raw edges. So now we can get sewing. As you can see, I've got the scrunchie ready in place to start sewing. So I've put the folded top end in first, just so that doesn't unfold and unravel and I forget to do it the other end. So if you just go forward a few stitches, back a few, and forward again, and the same when you get to the opposite end, just to finish off the seams so that the thread doesn't unravel. And now we just want to trim the excess threads off. So you should be left with something that looks similar to this. So we've sort of sewn all the way down lengthways. If you have a loop turner, now is the time to use it. If you don't worry, you can still turn the scrunchie the right way round. You'll just have to use your hands. So placing the loop turner straight up through the scrunchie fabric, sort of hooking it over the end and then it should just pull straight back down through, turning the scrunchie to the right sides. This is one of the best sewing devices I have bought so far. I just bought them on Amazon, but I'm sure all the your local sewing shops will sell them too. So the scrunchie is now the right way round. So next we need to give the scrunchie an iron. So whilst you are ironing, you want to make sure you keep the seam line almost running in the same place along the whole scrunchie. I quite like mine against one edge. So I'm just making sure I give this a real good press and iron so it's nice and neat. Once you have ironed the scrunchie, the next step is to thread the elastic through. As you can see, I have already attached my elastic to a safety pin. This is just to help get the elastic through easily. You can kind of guide it through and really feel where the elastic end is, rather than it getting sort of lost in the middle. The bigger the safety pin, the easier it is. So if you just sort of pop that through one end, and then you keep sort of pushing and gathering the fabric. I sort of pull it down every so often, but be careful not to lose the other end in the middle of the scrunchie. So just keep pushing and guiding, gathering the fabric. Until you pull it through the other end. At this point, I tend to hold both ends of the elastic, like so. Try and take my safety pin off at this point as well. And then I tend to tie a couple of knots just to make sure the elastic is secure and that it won't break easily once it's in the hair. So now you can sort of move your scrunchie fabric around. I try and manoeuvre the knot so that it's not going to be directly where I'm sewing the ends of the scrunchies together. And what you need to make sure you do is line wherever the seam line is on your scrunchie. I try and keep mine all in one place rather than having sort of one facing up where you're sewing together and one facing down. So I always double check that before I sew them together. So you place the end that has the raw edges inside the end that has the folded neater edge, and then we are just going to straight stitch down the middle to secure the fabric together. So I've got my scrunchie in place. I try and keep the needle sort of as close to that neat edge as possible, just so it really secures all the fabric and you've not got loose fabric kind of popping up. So remember to do your few back stitches at the beginning and the end. And then all you need to do now is trim the excess threads off once again. So there we go, we have a half and half scrunchie. I quite like the colour sort of difference on these, that the black's really strong and striking, but it still goes with the zebra print. But you can do them in any fabric, so I've done blues, pinks, whites, reds. I think they're just something really cool and really different, ideal for yourself or as a gift for someone. So I really hope you've enjoyed my tutorials today on how to make these lovely sort of half and half scrunchies. Like I say, I think they're a fabulous idea for anyone, whether that's yourself or for a friend. Please check out my other videos and my Instagram accounts to see my makes. Thank you.